cultivating mature positivity.
CMPRadio.net. CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
Hey, Lottie Dottie and everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As you already know, I'm Kriss, Queen Kriss to be exact, and I just want to take the time out to thank you again for being here. This is going to be a really interesting show. I really hope that you guys tune in, and you already know, make sure you like, follow, and is in tune with what's going on here at CMP Radio, Cultivate Mature Positivity. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. If you could just introduce yourself really quickly.
Well, I'm Derrick T. Billups Sr., and first of all, I'm glad to be here, and I'm just honored that you guys thought of me and thought to invite me here to the show. So I'm excited about what's going on, and so I'm here for you.
Good. Okay. Thanks. So for those of you who don't know, we're actually here to talk about vitiligo. A quick definition is basically the cause of loss of skin color. So the pigmentation known as melanin could be lightened or just different in different, lighter in different spots of the body. So, Mr. Derrick, did I say it?
Yep, Derrick Billups, yep.
So how long have you had this condition or anything close to similar?
Well, when I first realized it or recognized it, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It would come and go, okay, and then I don't know if it was seasonal, but at one point it would be very visible, and then later on it wouldn't be as visible, and then at one point a few years ago, then the same spot was there, it stayed there, and it's got a little larger, and at that point I knew it was there, but at that point I started to talk to my doctor, do a little reading up. I've got a friend who is a doctor of naturopath, so talking to him about it. And then once I found out, then it is what it is, and so I just continue to move on.
I love that saying. That's one of my favorite sayings. I gotta admit, it is what it is. Right. Taking that ownership. So you said that some of the things that were different was that it would come, but it would kind of fade away. Was it more so the coloration that made you notice? What were some of the specific things that stuck out? Well,
the coloration, the coloration is easy because I'm a pretty dark-skinned brother, so it was easy to recognize there was something different on me. So, and maybe some other people, maybe not, but for me, it was definitely visible. And so I would see it. The problem was making it sometimes difficult to see it because where it's located. It was under my neck. So obviously, if I'm shaving, I can tell, but for the most part, I couldn't if I'm looking straight ahead, if I'm walking, whatever. So it really wasn't recognizable. My wife really didn't recognize it, because she wasn't shaving me, So I had been trying to get it shaved, but she wouldn't do it. So at the end of the day, I would recognize it, then it would go away, and then I would, I'd pay attention. I was like, wow. And then, maybe a couple months, then it wouldn't be there.
Gotcha.
And I said, okay, and just thought it was maybe something I was eating, something I was doing, stress, those type of things. So I was kind of contributing it to that. And then that's how I just kind of paid more attention to it until it appeared to be permanent in a sense. Okay.
And did you ever give yourself a diagnosis? Like, we're good to take what we know, go to Google and try to look things up and determine what was going on ourselves. Did you have that stage, or were you just going straight to the doctors once you noticed?
No, I because I know some people, I have some friends, and so I understood. I didn't know, really, it's a difficult name to pronounce, so I wasn't able to pronounce it, but I knew some friends at church, some things I was doing, so they were able to talk to me a little about it. And again, mine wasn't as defined as theirs, so. And because I wasn't as sure, I would just ask them questions about it, and they would tell me, and of course, they would tell me there wasn't any real cure, all those kind of things. So, at that point, as I mentioned earlier, and I don't mean to be redundant, but it would come and go, and because it came and went, I was just always assuming that was going to happen.
Gotcha.
Now I couldn't catch up with it, like what season. I wasn't paying any attention. So was it in the wintertime, summertime? I wasn't paying any attention. Was it coming? Was it becoming more visible once I got stressful or things were happening in my business or whatever? So it just wasn't. It was just something I was asking questions about, but something I wasn't worried about at all.
Nice. And I'm glad that you were able to actually highlight that, because I think a lot of times the moment we notice that something is different or something is off, we instantly kind of go into like our little corner in our little box and become a little introverted and self-conscious. Did you ever experience that after your diagnosis?
Being self-conscious?
Yeah.
Again, because I'm so dark, okay? And then what happens is it does show, but it's in a place that is not as defined as some of my brothers and sisters, okay? And so some of them may have it and it may be a little more defined, a lot more visible. With me, it's less visible. And so I'm a pretty confident person, so it didn't affect me that way. But I must admit, I am aware, because just like I'm confident, I'm also, I'm just aware of my presence, and like we all are. And I'm aware of how I'm looking and things of that nature. So if I'm getting dressed or whatever, so once it's visible in terms of, I know it was permanent, then I did become a lot more aware of, how I'm standing, which way I'm standing, my neck's up, my neck's down, all of those things. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It didn't change my confidence, but it did make, I was more aware.
Right.
Okay.
And I like that difference, being aware versus confident.
Yes.
Yep. So when were you actually diagnosed?
I've never truly been diagnosed other than from my doctor.
Nice.
He just looked at it and said, that's what I think it is, because I have two doctors, and one happened to be white, and he said that he had it when he was younger, and so, but it went away, so that kind of thing. And so for me, that was the only true diagnosis. So I don't know if do I need to go to someone, a dermatologist or something of that nature? I've never done that. Again, probably because it's defined and it's controlled at one area. So if it had grown,
it wasn't a need to follow up.
To me, it wasn't.
Right.
I'm not saying that was the right thing to do, but for me, it was. I just didn't do it, and so I either took both of the doctors, their advice, or just took their word that that's what it was, and I moved from there.
Got you. What was the reaction to the people closer to you when it became more of a permanent thing?
No reaction, really. I mean, the people that's close to me, there's no reason for them to react to anything other than, again, the reason why I'm saying that, it is not as visible as some of my brothers and sisters that have it. So for me, again, my daughters, my son, they, a lot of times they didn't even recognize it for a while. And my kids are a little older, so they just didn't recognize it until maybe they caught me at one situation or one turn or with my head up.
With your head up,
so
or
again,
like
because it's less visible, and then they would ask me what that is. I would tell them, and then they better not say anything.
Now, in social experiences, you've mentioned that you were more aware of the situation, not necessarily cautious or insecure about it, but just aware. Were there ever a time that you felt ostracized or excluded during or being at social events?
No, and the reason why I can say no is because, as I mentioned to you earlier, I'm an author. I was self-employed, so I was in a lot of people's homes, a financial advisor.
Yep.
So coach, all of those things. I'm always around people.
Yeah.
And I'm still always around people.
Yep.
And so with that situation, I mean, my confidence and the ability to be around people, and it never stopped me from anything.
Right.
And I've never felt ostracized or anything of that nature.
Nice.
And so you just keep it moving, and I just kept it moving.
Okay. What would you say is the biggest misconception about vitiligo?
I don't know if I'm truly in a position to answer that question, because, as I mentioned earlier, mine's just less visible. So I may not, be in the same position as some of my brothers and sisters. So I don't know if if I'm an authority on that or have the right to speak on that because of my position and where I'm at and my less visible in terms of where it's located. So I don't know if I'm the right person to truly answer that question. And so, in your experience and the conversations that you've had, or the rooms that you've been in, and the conversations that were going on in that room, was there ever a time where you kind of felt like the perception was one way versus the reality of the situation? Well, the biggest perception is a cure, like everything else, until everyone understands that there's no cure, based on my knowledge, that there isn't a cure. And so I think most of the perception, those who know, those who want to spend time to be educated on it. The issue is most people are not educated on it. Obviously, we are. Those who have it are, I'm sure, a lot more educated than those who do not.
Yeah.
So that's the misconception, is that people think it's a cure. People think people have done something. I've heard people say it's all about stress. Other people, your diet.
Right.
All of those kinds of things do come up, and I don't know. Maybe those things do play a part in it. But for the most part, it's usually an immune system type of situation and things of that nature. So that's why I said I'm less, in my mind, less qualified to speak on that because of where mine is located, the visibility, and so I may not get some of the same kind of reaction or scrutiny or
interaction.
questions or things of that nature that maybe some of my brothers and sisters get from that.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you would like to inform the world, or is there one thing that you want to leave with us? Maybe a quote of some sort?
Well, I will say that after everything is said and done, there's usually more said than done. Okay, and the brothers and sisters that have Vitiligo, obviously the great people. Everybody's the same. We're just moving forward. We have something that not everyone has, so that makes us distinct. That makes us special.
Right.
That makes us different. And there's nothing wrong with being distinct. There's nothing wrong with being special. There's nothing wrong with being different. But we just keep it moving, and it is what it is.
It is what
and
it is.
There's a lot of issues that people have that are a lot greater and a lot more difficult to deal with than what we have, and then we just keep it moving. And so that's what you'll find: great people that just a little distinct, just a little different, but we just keep it moving.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming. Thank you so much for being open and being able to have this conversation with us today.
Thank you, Ms. Kriss. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope to see you at the next one.